Hey, Foot Clan, before we start today's show, I want to tell you again, you got to download the Draft app. Have you joined in on the Fantasy Footballers Leagues on Draft? It adds excitement to the weekend, even more excitement for Football Sunday because we are doing weekly snake draft games. You play against us. You're playing against other Foot Clan listeners. You can play for fun. Or you know what? You can even play for a little side action and a little bit of cash on the Draft app. This is what I need you to do. You download the Draft app on iOS or Android. You put in the code BALLERS. It will automatically put you into our league. So grab the Draft app right now.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
How you guys feeling? Are you okay? Mike, you look like you're, how's your triceps? How's your quadriceps?
I made it through the weekend slightly unscathed. My body is not
You've
injured.
got like a little pimple on your forehead.
Yeah.
Is that from the weekend?
That was the co-host from the Periscope that I did on Sunday.
Oh, okay. So you took a little bit of damage. Jason, how are you doing?
Oh man, I am sore. I am
really?
Yeah, from last night's games.
Mental reps.
My body has gone with the games. I watch, I get sore. I feel like I got injured.
I wear a full virtual suit that it does the impact, simulates the impacts of the game.
Look,
on my
if you
body.
die in the Matrix,
yeah, you die for real.
You die for real.
Okay. JJ Zachariason said, he said, week 1, we knew some things. Week 2, nope.
Wow.
And I thought that summarized this weekend really, really well. I think there are some desperate fantasy football owners out there waiting for this show to drop for some insight, for some updates, for some hope.
Yeah, you know,
in a dark world.
Down was up was down. I mean, there were so many
positive yards were negative yards, if you ask Thomas Rawls.
Or TJ Yeldon.
Oh.
Look, I told somebody this morning on Twitter what Jason says in the beginning of the year and what we say all the time. There's a reason you don't win your fantasy championship at the draft. And that's because week 2 happens every once in a while, and your whole world gets turned upside down, and you have questions, and you start to see, here's what happened. You had all the injuries, and we're going to break them all down on the show. We're going to break down all of the pooped in their big boy pants and all of the stud muffins and give you some insight. But essentially you have a situation where not only do you have the injuries, but you have 2 weeks in the books to add to the paranoia, to add to the itchy drop fingers, and all of the adjustments that we need to make. And so listeners are looking for insight. They're looking for some way to go with their roster, with the Kobe Fleeners of the world.
Tomorrow's going to be a big show with the waivers. I mean,
yeah.
a week like today where so many people got injured and so many different things happened during the game that changed kind of what our thoughts were going into the week, that tomorrow and in everybody's league, I mean, this week's waiver pickups, they're going to change the landscape of everybody's league.
And how much you spend on them, how much you react to the injuries and do you spend all your fab on certain guys? I mean, here's the reality too. We're going to update you on the injuries. They may be updated after the show's over because things are happening all day today with MRIs and tests and reports, and we're going to break it all down. But first, I want to get into the quick question of the day.
Oh, this is a good one.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, and Mike, you're going to help settle this situation because
that's what I do.
A listener sent a message to Jason and myself. I didn't know it had been sent to Jason too, and he said
I didn't know it had been sent to Andy.
Yeah, and so we
thanks, listener.
Might have been sent to you too, but probably not. So the question is this, and Jason and I apparently responded in opposite fashion.
And I was sure of my answer too.
Sure.
So I found it fascinating when he said, "Oh, Andy said the opposite." I was like, "What?"
Yeah. Okay. So a trade was made in a league, and it was made after Thursday, but before the weekend. And the trade involved LaShawn McCoy. Therefore, it could not process until after the weekend because McCoy played on Thursday night.
All right.
The trade was LaShawn McCoy in a deal for Adrian Peterson. And the question that this listener posed was, Well, because it's not processing till after the weekend, and now they were the person that traded away Adrian Peterson and got McCoy back. And they said, should this trade be allowed to go through in the league? Now, without saying which, I don't want to tell him.
I actually want him to guess which.
Well, I just want him to give it. Yeah, he can guess who said what. Mike, you can guess what Jason and I said because we said the opposite.
Well, I'm surprised that someone gave the wrong answer.
Okay.
Oh, man.
That's a good way to introduce that.
The trade.
What is the right answer?
The trade is up to whoever is getting the Adrian Peterson side. If they want to back out, they're allowed to back out.
What?
100%.
Why would they be allowed to back out on a trade that was agreed upon before the weekend?
Because the trade has not gone through, and now you're receiving a player who is injured, but the trade hasn't gone through. Think about it. This is what I told the listener. It's just like in the NFL. They make trades in the NFL where the guy comes to the new team and he can't pass the physical.
Then the trade's off.
The trade's off.
But the trade was made. The only reason it didn't go through on Friday was because McCoy played.
Look, if the trade had gone through on Friday or on Wednesday,
then? Yes.
If the trade goes through and then a player gets injured, that's you're out of luck.
Here's the thing, and here's why I don't agree. And I know we've said different things about this before on the show. At what point, what type of injury now blocks trades that have been agreed upon before the weekend? Is it a 2-game injury that gives them the chance to get it out? Is it a 1-game injury? The trade was agreed upon before the weekend. The risks were known for each player. McCoy had already played. To me, it's just not a fair situation for the person who made the deal to now be in a position to lose, the trade. I just think it's an agreed upon trade. And if McCoy played on Sunday, it had already gone through.
This is one that must be posted to our Twitter page.
And I don't want anybody to get screwed over by the trade.
Well,
but
someone is going to
But the trade was
get
already done. And so I think you sleep in the bed.
But the trade
trade's not done.
The trade is not done.
But it was.
No, it was agreed upon.
Yes, it was agreed upon. It can't process in the system because of McCoy playing early.
Right, yeah. The trade had not gone through, correct?
The trade had not been processed.
All right.
The trade had gone through.
No. If the trade had gone through, it's finished.
It was a trade.
The trade was agreed upon, but it had not gone through.
We need to bring it up to debate.
Sure.
I think it's unfair for the guy who
it's unfair for one of them, no matter what.
It is not unfair for one of them, no matter what.
If you're on our side, yeah, okay.
No, I'm saying it doesn't make it unfair. The guy traded Adrian Peterson away and traded LaShawn McCoy.
Well, he agreed to trade Adrian Peterson away.
He agreed to trade him away. So it's not unfair. You sleep in the bed you made.
Well, we'll see what the listeners say.
All right. Well, at least one thing happened this week. My almost upset of the week got it taken care of. Won by a point.
No, yeah, they won.
Yeah, so did I fail or succeed?
You failed.
No, that was a good succeed. That was you called that
Tennessee over Detroit.
Yep, and that was a pretty big spread there, so they covered.
All right. Well, we are a year-round fantasy football podcast. We go 5 days a week, all season long. You can keep it right here on Twitter at the FF Ballers, on the website thefantasyfootballers.com. We have new articles and things dropping on there all the time. And now you can join us on Join the Foot Clan at jointhefoot.com. And what we've added this past week is we added our premium projections on there as well as a bonus feature, just something extra.
For the foot?
For the foot. So you can check that out, get some additional information each and every week.
And now
we do not have our crystal ball auto-predict the 12 injuries a week thing on there, do we?
No, not yet. We're working on that. I think when that comes out, it's going to be a big hit.
Right.
I will say this, though, and I'm not promising this, but there is a chance that we're going to actually be putting up our statistical-backed flex rankings that people have been wanting for a long time, also for the Foot Clan. So if you are a member of the Foot, there's over 2,000 of you over there. We really appreciate your support. We're going to try to give you the real flexed-in rankings.
Here's what's amazing about this show. Things like that, Jason and I didn't even get to discuss that before the show. I asked him the question this morning. I said, hey, do you think we can get the flex rankings in? I didn't hear the reply till just now.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, it's a little bit more work for us, but we work hard. That's the nice thing about being independent. We want to do something, guess what we do? We do it.
Yeah, no approval from the man upstairs.
Yeah, all right.
John upstairs. All right, here we go.
Weekly Rewind.
Oh, It was bloody. It was bad. It was sad, and it touched nearly everybody in some way.
The only way you can properly express the feelings is with Bono's voice.
I was grieving these losses this week. I lost Foster and Stewart, my 2 running backs, in the first quarter. I'm facing Jason in the league of record, and I have like a 3-point lead now because of Stewart and Foster, and he has Jeffrey tonight, so it's over.
No, it's not over. I mean, given this weekend, Jeffrey could go down on the first play. Oh, no, don't you do that to Jeffrey.
I'm sorry, Alshon.
No.
I don't want anything serious.
Go pick up Kevin White immediately. Go get Eddie Royal.
No, I can't. I don't want to will my injuries upon these players. I want to take them on my team and then ruin them.
This was a hard week for everyone. Yeah, I mean, like Andy said, either you were playing against someone who had someone injured, or you yourself had someone injured. I had a
read
game,
the list.
I'll read the list. But I had a game where this league has like an average. If you have a decent week, you score about 110 points. And I was about to win the week last night. In our league, I think 68-65, and normally I'd be like, whoa, what? But we all had, like, both teams were just decimated. I didn't feel guilty for that one. All right, here's some of the players that have been injured. Jonathan Stewart,
hamstring.
Thomas Rawls,
bruise.
Danny Woodhead,
knee.
Arian Foster,
surprise, is groin, or hamstring.
Ameer Abdullah,
foot.
Doug Martin,
hamstring.
Adrian Peterson,
just running backs.
No, there's another one. Adrian
Peterson, knee. But we still don't know.
Julio Jones,
ankle.
Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, going back to Thursday, the miracle for Marshall.
Yeah, he's still. It's possible he misses another week.
Knee.
Tyler Lockett,
knee.
Oh, Donte Moncrief.
That was
bad.
One hurt. That one's either a concussion or a shoulder.
No, it's a shoulder.
It's confirmed.
It's confirmed. It's a shoulder.
Gross.
Doug Baldwin,
knee.
Josh McCown. I remember him.
Josh McCown.
He flashed bright very quickly.
I feel like Josh McCown desperately, all he wants in his life is to die on the football field.
Yeah, well, he does his best to make sure that happens. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Shoulder.
He wants to be a Disney movie.
Who was on fire.
Remember me.
Andy Dalton.
Ankle.
Had an ankle injury afterwards. Virgil Green.
Yeah, he was seen in a walking boot afterwards.
Somehow I heard Walker.
He
was using a walker.
I mean,
there was reports that Rashad Jennings had some type of hand cast on.
I feel like today you could just say, well, there was a report. There was a report today.
Tom
Brady.
Remember when Sammy Watkins used to cover our injury report speculation?
Yes.
Actually, you know what it's going to be like deciding these guys? There's no probable tag anymore.
What's crazy is he should have been on this list. That was this week. His foot. He left the game.
No, he's the healthiest NFL player right now. Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is the healthiest. So that was the quick list. I mean, we're going to dive into some of these, and really we're going to give you insight tomorrow on the waiver show as the news and kind of projections for next week, whether they come out. But Doug Martin left the game early, slight
early
tweak to the hamstring. He himself said he's not sure how long he's going to be out. Charles Sims rises to the top.
I bet Martin misses at least a week. This is with the hammy, when you tweak it like that. I mean, we're talking the very beginning of the game. He just immediately went out. You know that if you don't rest, it's just going to get worse and worse, and you're going to miss even more time. So you have to sit at least a tiny bit.
So we'll have to talk about Charles Sims tomorrow. We'll have to talk about how much fab he's worth if he's a 1 or 2 week rental.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to be near the top because
maybe Charles Sims is pretty owned as far as leagues. He's not super available. I'm going to look up his number.
But in the leagues he's available, he's going to be near the top because either he's going to get that start, but like Mike said, let's say he doesn't get that start because Doug Martin's back, then you've got almost more probability that you've got a longer term value for Charles Sims when it re-aggravates the hamstring.
Sims owns 65% in ESPN.
Let's talk about the Adrian Peterson injury because that looked terrible in terms of him, no weight on it. If you saw the video of him after the game, he was in a full leg brace to protect the knee and was crutching around.
That was so weird because it was like he didn't even know that he had hurt his knee. He went to get up like normal after that play, and then all of a sudden his leg didn't work, And he's like, why can't I walk? It was really bizarre to me. And then seeing the way he went into the locker room was like, okay, he's done. Like, this might be career. And now the head coach comes out and says he might miss a game this week. He might not.
Yeah, MRI today that will give us conclusive news in terms of the long-term thing there. The question that I have is, I mean, Jerick McKinnon, everybody wants to go grab Jerick McKinnon when something like this happens. I don't know if that's what I want to do.
Between him and Matt Asiata?
I think I'd rather spend 15 fab on Asiata versus 70 fab on McKinnon, and I might get the same production.
Yeah. No, you might be right for sure.
I mean, Asiata's the pounder. I mean, he's the guy that's going to be in there between the tackles.
And he catches passes. I mean, we last time when Peterson's missing time, they go to Asiata. But I'm with you. We'll break that one down tomorrow. But that one's very difficult.
Yeah, we'll have to. We're gonna have a 20-hour show if we don't punt waiver pickups.
I was gonna say,
tomorrow.
there's no way we meet we normally try to do these shows 45 minutes. There's no way it's gonna get there today. I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care. It was just a crazy weekend. Now Jimmy Garoppolo has a sprained AC joint, landed right on that shoulder. Now they're saying it's not as bad as initially believed. He has a chance to play Week 3. It's still very doubtful that he'll play Week 3, which means
he's on Thursday night. He's not playing.
I mean, you're going to have a situation with a rookie taking on the Texans defense and J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, and a defense that played very well this week against the Chiefs. Now they're at home, but look, it doesn't get better than them as a streaming option this week or a defensive option. If you can grab them off the waiver wire if you're playing a rookie.
I don't know if you guys were following this, but did you realize who the emergency backup quarter became after
Julian Edelman?
It was Edelman.
I would have loved to see it.
And look,
man,
I
awesome.
don't want to see an injury, but I was playing Edelman, and if all of a sudden he had swapped into quarterback, I would not have been upset by that.
That's like the in baseball sometimes when
a position player goes to pitch.
it takes over the mound and
except Edelman played quarterback in college, so we know he can do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we kind of know that. We know he can throw the ball.
Right.
So you're saying Houston, good pickup for this Thursday. They look great. Their defense looks great.
Probably.
Short week with a rookie.
You never rule out.
It makes no sense
Belichick.
for Garoppolo to play this week.
No, none whatsoever.
Because you get
honestly,
a short week and then come back in week 4. And
I don't
Brady's
know that
back.
he needs to come back in week 4 because they're playing the Bills.
Oh,
below the belt.
Yeah, right in the Greg Roman.
That's the moneymaker. All right. What else we got here, Andy?
Ian Rappaport reporting this morning that Ameer Abdullah's injury on his foot came back negative in terms of the x-rays. He'll have more tests on Monday. No breaks. Had a noticeable limp. Was in a boot. Probably going to miss some time. You got Theo Riddick. You got Dwayne Washington. You got a mess.
He was looking really good beforehand, too.
Yeah.
Running well, again, for another week. Now Theo Riddick becomes – I mean, I have really liked so far week 1 and week 2. I've had both Ameer Abdullah and Theo Riddick decently ranked, and I just keep wishing like one of those guys would kind of take over more of the volume. Well, unfortunately, wish granted.
I'm in a situation in our league with losing Foster and Stewart and thinking they're both not going to play this week because that's the way it looks. I sent a straight up offer of Jonathan Stewart for Theo Riddick.
What?
Yeah, and he turned it down.
What?
He turned it down.
I can tell you right now.
Well, because that owner would – I know the situation of that person would have no running backs as well.
That person lost Woodhead and AP.
Well, there you go. Yeah, you
So-
turn that down.
Crazy, though. This is the world we're living in. We're trading for Theo Riddick. We're desperate for Theo Riddick. All right. Moncrief, MRI on his shoulder coming today. Don't have any more news than that. Philip Dorsett looked good, caught a long pass. He'd be a must-start guy if Moncrief was out.
I agree.
Thomas Rawls, after that brilliant start of the week worthy performance, suffered a leg contusion and did not play in the second half. Terrible game for Rawls. Injury plus 7 for -7.
Yeah. He did add some through the air, though, so he should have broke even at a solid 0
Right.
for you.
Well, and the good news is he was at -11 rushing at one point.
That's the good news?
Well, he didn't end up there.
Here's the thing that's weird about that is like when you start, and most of those runs, I really did not blame Rawls on. I mean, the problem with the Seahawks offense right now is obvious to everyone. It's their offensive line. They look atrocious. But Kristen Michael came in.
I was going to say, it didn't stop.
No!
It did not stop the woke one from averaging 6 yards a carry.
And he looked really good. I said that on our Slack, and I
And
told
you said,
you guys,
don't tell anybody.
Tell no one that I said this. But he did. He passed my eyeball test, and I didn't like it.
My favorite part or not favorite, but a part that was a delight of the weekend was how Kristen Michael looked. He was 10 for 60. He looked great. He was basically one bright piece of that offense. He has the unfortunate fumble that loses the game, and Twitter just destroys him. They're like, oh wow, he sucks.
He also, I will say this,
he was one of the only good parts of the offense today.
He was also the reason for one or two really good sacks on Russell Wilson. I don't think he is a very prolific pass protector.
That's fair.
And that's going to keep him from taking over that starting job when Thomas Rawls is healthy.
Look, Russell Wilson masks the offensive line problems when he's athletically able to do what he does. He wasn't in this game, and they played a good defense at home. Russell Wilson cost me a week in our league. That was the first time they didn't score an offensive touchdown since 2012.
You know who the Seahawks could use? Max Unger. Just throwing that out there. That would really help
No.
them
Jimmy
right
Graham can play center.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a really good blocker.
All right, before we move on to the rest of these reports, we're going to get into the stud muffins. We're going to get into the pooped in the big boy pants and our rising stars on the show today. But before we do that, I do want to thank the sponsors that keep this show alive, keep it going, including Draft. Now, Jason and I faced off in Draft this weekend. We faced off in Draft last weekend, and I beat him then as well. I beat him this week. My Eli Manning, C.J. Anderson, David Johnson, Julio Jones, and Allen Robinson.
I blame Antonio Brown.
Defeated Drew Brees, Ezekiel Elliott, Lamar Miller, Antonio Brown, and Odell Beckham Jr.
Man, I had Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown. I was sure I was going to win.
What's awesome about this app and us facing off every week is that it is not like this giant, time-consuming, sucks you in for an hour. It's not like doing a mock draft in the preseason. This is like you jump in.
Put a little money where your mouth is.
Yeah, you make a little bet, and then I get to come in here on the show every week. I mean, every single week of the entire year so far, and tell you how I defeated Jason with my astute analysis and picks. And you are silent.
I have nothing
you have
to say.
Nothing. Because you chose that scrub Antonio Brown, who did not deliver for you.
Yeah, he stinks.
So if you want to get involved, challenge your buddies, play in leagues together. That's what we like doing on the Draft app. You can go to playdraft.com/ballers, or just go to the iOS store, the Android store, and just type in draft, download it, put in the coupon code BALLERS, and then you get added to the two leagues with us.
Yeah, and those leagues draft every Sunday morning, so you'll get a message and alert, and you can hop in and draft with us.
And hey, Dr. Football, you owe me a water video for the Mono a Mono.
Yeah,
water bet of the week.
You had to deliver your water video today.
I did.
And then, of course, one of our other great sponsors that help keep the lights on here, great friend of this show, Pristine Auction. Do not forget about Pristine Auction. They are the best sports memorabilia place ever that we have ever ran into. They're local here. We've been to their factory. We've met these guys.
Factory, huh?
Factory. Their warehouse. Their warehouse. Yeah, that would be.
I'm seeing smokestacks.
A little bit more accurate. But I mean, if you look at our studio, we've got it decked out. And I got to be honest here, guys. We've got it decked out with stuff from Pristine Auction, but I'm getting a little jealous because I keep seeing these tweets go out of people who are truly decking out their place.
Oh, man, they're loading up.
I mean, if you've got a place where you watch football, or you got a cool game room, or you got a cool office, or you got something like that, you can line the walls with unbelievable merchandise signed. Everything is super authentic. They care about authenticity so much with Pristine Auction.
Someone had a question this weekend about the authenticity of some of these items, and Jared, the CEO over there, I let him know. He got
personally
emailed him in like 2 seconds. Talked about him. This guy's a great company, great product.
And you wouldn't believe how cheap you can get some of these things. So check them out. Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com. If you got gifts or anything coming up, it's a great place to check out.
So
Thank you
Mike,
for checking them
Grab
out.
a free account and let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
All right, let's talk about Tyler Lockett. He made a couple of big over-the-top plays, probably the only plays that the Seahawks made on offense the whole day. He suffered a sprained knee.
He did come back.
He
right?
did come back.
Yes.
So with Baldwin's injury, I wanted to wrap those together. Baldwin is going to have an MRI on his knee. He also got banged around a little bit, seemed to be hurting. Things are not looking super great for that offense right now. They play San Francisco next week. Would you start Russell Wilson?
Ooh,
Yes.
today, I don't know. Actually, I'm going to say I don't know.
Okay.
Are they? Do you know if they're home or away?
I believe they're in San Francisco.
That's
No,
then
I think
don't know.
I'm actually wrong about that. Will you vet that?
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
Sure. But the reality is, with injuries like
In
this
Seattle.
specific
In Seattle.
I'm
Yeah.
playing Russell
Yeah.
Wilson against the Niners. But with injuries like this has to be a wait and see. We can't give you any solid advice yet. We have to wait till the MRIs come back. But just be aware that those guys are hurt and that you need to follow up before you make starts with either them or Russell Wilson.
Now, good news is Russell did come out and say that the ankle felt good and he thought it would feel even better next week. Little bit of concern for Jonathan Stewart, hamstring ankle injury. Ankles coming into the week, hamstring during the game. I believe he wants to add the groin next week, and then he's going to do the
trifecta.
Yeah.
That was so upsetting to me. Jonathan Stewart, I apologize to everyone. He was my start of the week, and I was so confident on that start of the week. I knew it was going to happen, and then he gets injured in the first quarter. But in my defense, did you see what Fozzie Whitaker did? Fozzie
100-plus
Whitaker.
yards off the bench.
Waka goes out there and gets 100 yards on the ground. Man, if Jonathan Stewart didn't go out, he would have been great.
And another eye roll moment for Chargers fans and fantasy owners alike.
Oh,
Danny
man.
Woodhead exited the game with a knee injury. Caught underneath Telvin Smith in the first quarter, dropped the ball, stayed on the turf, was carted off, and suddenly Melvin Gordon looks like a top 10 back.
Melvin Gordon looks like a top 10 back. Kelvin Benjamin now has more targets to
Travis
Benjamin.
It was all about the Benjamins this week.
Yes, it was. Travis Benjamin has Tyrell Williams. The whole passing game changes with Danny Woodhead being out. And like you said, Melvin Gordon, he has has there been anything bad from Melvin Gordon from training camp on?
No. He
I
was one of the preseason players you could see with your eyes was a little bit different this year.
And I was concerned about the week 1 snap percentages, but you take Danny Woodhead out of the equation, then that changes everything.
Yeah, he had 24 carries this week after Woodhead went out, and he looked good. First over 100-yard game for Melvin Gordon.
Added another touchdown.
And 3 catches. So I was shocked at
I think
this.
you
This
should-
one's shocking.
Do you have the breaking news?
No, let's just go with this. Arian Foster injured,
Oh, man, that's so weird.
going to miss a game.
Going to miss a game. Every other one.
At minimum, he will miss one game.
I hate this situation. I have Jay Ajayi on my bench. I was a Foster owner. I don't feel good about that because he fumbled. You got Kenyon Drake, Damian Williams. It's probably going to be a 3-headed monster.
Yeah, we don't.
And I do mean monster.
We don't celebrate injuries here, and certainly not this one. And so I won't say I told you so.
Oh. You're an astute man.
Yeah. I mean, what is there to say? A healthy 1 point I got out of Arian Foster. He killed me this week. Mike Florio reports Brandon Marshall has an MCL injury. This is the Marshall miracle we saw on Thursday where he went down. Everybody thought he was done. Then he played some more. Now you're talking MCL injury. I remember Larry Fitzgerald had an MCL injury and took him a little bit of time to come back. Marshall was walking fine, but I know he did not come to practice today. You simply have to monitor this situation this week. Now, the nice thing is Marshall gets 10 days because he played on Thursday. So he has more time than normal to get healthy. I would expect him to go, but we will need to update you on what's going on.
Yeah, if it was someone else, I mean, this is one of those situations where it really comes down to the person, their pain tolerance, their willingness to work through things. You know, an Eric Decker, a Brandon Marshall, I expect them to be back out there.
Bills have fired offensive coordinator Greg Roman.
So
I would like to be hired for $2.5 million a year and then fired and paid that money anyways. So I don't have to work.
That's
Now I don't
not
have to
too
work.
bad.
I mean, I
Well,
wouldn't want to work with Rex.
So the coaches get paid that, but the players, if you cut a player, they're like, I'm not I'm not paying you anymore.
Well, in this situation, Greg Roman was the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league.
That's unconscionable.
He took them from a 30-something offense to like number 9 last year or something like that. And now he's the scapegoat look, they're going to start 0-4 probably. I mean, this is a team their next 2 matchups. I know they have the Patriots in week 4.
Yes.
Who do they have this week? The Cardinals, right? I think they have the Cardinals this week.
I'm pulling it up. Yep. In Buffalo.
Buffalo, the Cardinals. Look, this is, Rex is on his way out. Not a good situation in Buffalo. So that's all there is to say about that.
Yeah,
so,
I would not want to come in for the temporary offensive coordinator job in Buffalo.
All right, let's make it. Let's turn to the positive side of things.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
All right, Fantasy Stud Muffins from week number 2. The guys that avoided injury and played well. Happy to say, start of the week, Matt Ryan delivered 26 for 34, 396, 3 touchdowns. Came away with the win. Matt Ryan delivered. Phillip Rivers said, I don't need no Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Or Danny Woodhead.
Danny Woodhead.
Very surprising performance there from Rivers.
Big-time game from Rivers. Cam Newton had a huge game, 24 for 40, 353 and 4.
Cam Newton owes, for fantasy owners, I should say, you owe a big thank you to San Francisco for somehow staying in that game and letting Cam Newton produce.
You saw that last year at times with Carolina.
They would get up big, and then they just kind of go to sleep because they dominated so easily. They're like, whatever, you can't do anything. And they come back in the game. They still don't lose, but that's so great for fantasy. If they can keep that up, that'd be really good start your Carolina
It's
Panthers.
a good stat padding strategy by Cam Newton.
Oh, yeah. Very, very wise.
What else is going on? What other quarterbacks delivered in week number 2?
Obviously, we had Tyrod Taylor bounce back late on Thursday, but the guy that I liked seeing a lot of the most was Derek Carr against Atlanta. This is 2 weeks in a row now where Atlanta's secondary has been kind of carved up. I wasn't sure whether Derek Carr was going to get the touchdowns through the air or whether they were going to run them in, but he had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's great.
And then you had Carson Palmer, 18 for 31, 308, and 3 touchdowns. Larry Fitzgerald looking like he's 22.
Are you guys buying back into Tyrod?
No.
Like he had 303, but
they do want to pass more now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. With the new OC, allegedly they want to pass a little bit more, but Tyrod's almost his entire production, came on 2 busted plays.
Yeah, I'm not buying in. I have so many other options at quarterback.
Okay. It's going to always be a matchup.
I don't need
Tyrod.
to. All right, let's talk about some wide receivers that delivered the goods. We talked about the Benjamins, Travis Benjamin and Kelvin Benjamin, 2 touchdowns apiece.
Whew.
6 for 115 from Travis. He sure benefited from the he seemed to be the main beneficiary, although Tyrell Williams played well too.
Yeah, I think that there were several beneficiaries in this game, but Travis Benjamin played the part, played it well.
Jacksonville, man.
Wow. How's that Gus bust? You got a flat tire over there? Oh, yes!
Oh, yes! Hold on. America, brace yourself. Andy's in pain.
Gus, listen. We've been through a lot over the past few years, and I have stayed by your side as though we were married, and now it is time for me to say goodbye.
Oh, some paperwork being filed.
Gus,
he's ripping it up. No! He's taking the Gus Bradley picture off of the computer and putting it face down.
I don't know what to say other than you have good players and you can't win and you can't even compete. I'm disappointed. I am hurt.
This is a very long one.
And I am done with you. And it's been years and I'm done. Goodbye, Gus. Goodbye.
Yeah. Welcome to the right side. No, that's good. Let's see. Who else blew up? Let's get back happy. This is like the saddest show after this weekend's of football. Andy's going to be crying for a while, so I'll take over. How about this? How about the true beneficiary of Josh McCown taking over? And that was rookie sensation Corey Coleman. Now he has someone that can get him the ball 5 for 104 and 2 touchdowns, had 8 targets
Looked
in the game.
great.
I mean, we never
The eye test.
coming into this year, Corey Coleman was one of the guys we had absolutely, on another level of hype. But then Robert Griffin, the lacking, of a passing game, you had to downplay him. He wasn't going to get enough targets to be relevant. So now the news is wait and see if McCown is still healthy, because obviously
he's not going to be. Even if he plays next week, McCown is just going to take himself out of the game.
It doesn't take long for McCown to go down. Eric Decker, is he a 1? I mean,
like a wide receiver one?
I mean, he's played 18 straight games with a touchdown or 80 yards. He's been a 1. He was a 1 last year.
Yeah,
I mean, at this point, do you have – look, is he going to be better than Brandon Marshall this year?
No. But it's a legitimate question. Watching the game and how it's going, you see kind of Brandon Marshall, Quincy Enunwa is taking some of those targets away, but nothing is changing for Eric Decker. He is flying across the deep middle of that field, open enough and getting targets, and in the red zone, he's an option. Eric Decker, you lit it up again. He'll light it up next week. Play him, start him from here on out until things change.
Yeah, every week. Every week.
Now, here's the originator. I believe this is the originator of the Stay in the Flames moniker.
Is. He is.
And I believe we can officially hop right in that fire, and that is Stefon Diggs, man. 9 for 182 and a touchdown. He is the NFL league leader in yards right now at the wide receiver position from the Minnesota Vikings.
And he didn't make it into the actual stud muffins, but Sammy Biscuits, he looked fantastic. He looked fantastic in that first game.
Does Sam Shields matter? No, I said, does Sam Shields matter that much to that secondary?
Yeah, just like Jordy did to the offense. I mean, it depends on the matchup, right? Like, if you're going up against a team that has a number one weapon, then yeah, you need your number one cover guy. I mean, think about the Cardinals. If they lost Patrick Peterson, I mean, that would change everything on that defense. That's the same thing with Sam Shields right now.
Yeah, and who knows when Shields is back. Look, these are the guys we won't talk about tomorrow. So Stefon Diggs, rest of the season, where do you see him? I mean, he's had 2 great weeks. He's clearly the number one. Showed the one thing I wanted to see, which was a connection with the new quarterback.
I think Stefon Diggs going forward can be a wide receiver 2. I think, probably more of a low-end wide receiver 2. I don't expect him to continue leading the league. They're still, even without Adrian Peterson, a team that wants to run. He'll have his big weeks, but they're not all going to be. I mean, this was an incredible 182-yard game. He looks the part, though. He is very, very good. The offense and the defense of the Vikings, to me, is what limits him from being able to be a wide receiver 1, though, on any kind of regular basis.
He reminded me of Antonio Brown in this game.
Yeah?
Route running, big plays, smart routes.
Short routes that he can take longer.
Yeah, very impressive game. We talked, DeAndre Hopkins had a great game. Him and Will Fuller combined for 100 total yards each. Great matchup great situation for Osweiler to have those 2 guys on the outside.
Look at the rookie wide receivers this week, man. Corey Coleman, Will Fuller, and you had Sterling Shepard.
8 for
117. He led the New York Giants in passing.
Everyone's asking the question, does this mean Odell Beckham Jr. can't do Odell Beckham Jr. things anymore because of Cruz, who, by the way, played almost every snap, and Sterling Shepard? Look, if you watch the game, Odell Beckham Jr. still had a good game, and he dropped a touchdown pass. I mean, he had a sideline touchdown pass that would have put the game away. He just dropped it. So, that changes the whole.
He had a hole in the bottom of his bread basket.
Hole in the bottom of the bread basket.
It just snuck right through, but he would have had another great game. Who else here? Anybody else?
Marvin Jones had a monstrous game.
I think Marvin Jones is interesting because
Golden Tate stunk.
Golden Tate was the yin to the yang here.
I was not watching this game live, the Lions game, because you just can't catch every game live. And I kept looking on my computer and on my phone for news as to what happened to Golden Tate, why he's injured. What his injury is.
Tate still got targets.
He wasn't injured.
No, he still got targets, so that's at least you can feel good about that. But as for now, looks like Marvin Jones has taken over as the alpha of that pass game.
And Jarvis Landry, we were all very high on him this week. 10 for 137, big game.
Flow sure helped out the Miami Dolphins offense. for fantasy purposes.
Game flow?
Getting
Just the
down.
fact they had to pass?
And
they lost Arian Foster?
Garoppolo took the Patriots up huge. Garoppolo goes down, so the Patriots offense starts to turtle and just absolutely feed LeGarrette Blount, and that allowed the Dolphins to climb back in.
All right, running backs that blew up this week. We already talked about Matt Forte had a monster game, workhorse back. We don't need to discuss him anymore. DeAngelo Williams doing DeAngelo Williams things, always finds his way into the end zone when he has a premier role, and had only 32 carries.
I was going to say 32 carries. Man.
That seems decent. We're going to talk about Melvin Gordon in just a minute, so I will not discuss him in this segment, but he will get some airtime, trust me. LeGarrette Blount, 29 for 123 and 1.
Yeah.
Mike's start of the week.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Oh,
great
thank you.
start there. Latavius Murray had a touchdown again, but very limited workload, 8 carries in this game. He is a stud muffin for the week, and he is a question mark for the next few weeks.
He's a slight concern in the sense that, the thing that made Latavius Murray great last year was his incredible share of both the running game and the passing game.
It wasn't a share; it was a full stranglehold on the rushing.
Yeah, now they're getting plenty of other guys, Rashad and Washington, involved in that running game. He still led the charge, and because there was a high scoring, down game, there wasn't a whole lot of rushing attempts in general, and he was very involved in the passing game, 6 for 44. You know who else was involved in the passing
Oh,
game?
I love it. DeMarco Murray.
Oh,
Great
DeMarco
game.
Murray was, for sure. He had a great game.
We'll get back to your guy in just a sec. Let's talk DeMarco real quick. DeMarco, 7 for 56 through the air, 12 for 89 on the ground. Integral part of that offense. Now, Jason wanted to talk about Gio Bernard.
Yeah. He got 9 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown. That is a great game from a wide receiver.
Because A.J. Green was like, I don't want any. You can have them.
Yeah. A.J. Green, he stinks. Antonio Brown, he stinks. What happened this week in fantasy
It's a divisional
football?
game, man.
Yeah.
It's a divisional game. And here's what I see when I see A.J. Green and Antonio Brown have the games they do. Here's all I think. I'm so jealous of the owner that got to play against them this week because 9 times out of 10 you get just destroyed by them, and this week that person got lucky enough to not play a real AJ Green or a real Antonio Brown. C.J. Anderson looked great again, 20 for 74 and a touchdown, 3 for 19 through the air. Very consistent, solid week.
Yep. Anybody
Anybody else want to talk about at the running back position?
I think that's everybody.
Are you very confident with DeMarco as a RB1?
I'm very confident with him as a 2. In the actual game, his final line on the ground was 12 for 89. It was really bad.
He had a
It
long,
was terrible to start, and then he busted off a huge run, which fixed his.
I think he had
total
a
numbers.
That's how it works.
67-yard run, but his 11, I think he was 11 for 22, which is terrible. While at the same time, Derrick Henry
yes.
was involved in the running game, averaged 4.4 yards per carry, and had just a few less carries than DeMarco Murray. Now, DeMarco Murray's involvement in the passing game is what lets me be confident in him going forward. But I will say Henry is right now is the type of time that I would maybe look at trying to buy Derrick Henry.
All right, tight ends that produced this week. You had Martellus Bennett actually get targeted in the passing game, 5 for 114 and a touchdown on 6 targets.
Yeah, that's
Big boy game. Not a lot of people probably started him because he was in there blocking last week and didn't give us the Gronk type of game that we hoped for. Greg Olsen, 8 targets, had a 78-yard touchdown, 5 for 122 and a touchdown. Monster game for Greg Olsen. Love to see that involvement.
Dennis Pitta.
The one hip
Oh,
quitta.
what, is it one hip?
Yeah, the Dennis Pitta, the one hip quitta. He is back.
Wow,
He is back.
9 for 102 from the tight end position. Obviously, Joe Flacco looked to him often in that game. It's interesting to see this. And going forward, he's just going to be a guy you got to keep on the radar and see if this happens again.
But if you had Kobe Fleener,
Pick him up.
would you drop Fleener and pick up Dennis Pitta?
I don't know if I would drop Fleener yet.
Yeah, you push comes to shove here, guys.
For Fleener or for Pitta, I probably wouldn't, but I do think that there are guys on the waiver right now that I would do that for. I would probably do that for Jacob Tamme. Jacob Tamme might not be in our stud muffins, but that's 2 weeks in a row where he has been incredibly involved.
He is, in fact, in the stud muffins.
Oh,
5
is
for
he?
75 and a touchdown.
Oh, I missed him.
Monster game.
Yeah, and he's definitely on waivers.
Delaney Walker had a great game, 6 for 83 and a touchdown. And Vance McDonald this is the
Vance
situation.
McDonald had a great play.
He had one play, 1 for 75 and a touchdown. Touchdowns in 2 straight weeks. And I hate this type of a situation because I don't want that guy. I don't want a guy who gets 2 targets as my tight end. I don't care if occasionally he gets these long plays. He's not going to do it every game. So I don't want him.
I agree.
I'll take any other tight end that, I'll take Pitt over Vance McDonald, take Tammy.
You might want to keep your, on the radar as well. Jack Doyle, we should keep him on the radar because he was involved again for the Colts. And so, that week 1, you're just not sure. Is this like, the plays just happen to be there? So just
Jack Doyle's involvement kills the Dwayne Allen
upside.
Well, it kills
I love Michael Keaton.
It kills Dwayne Allen, and it also takes care of whatever activities that Jack Doyle has to take care of that in the Tom Clancy novels that he is in.
Right. All right. Some other honorable mentions. Matt Jones had an okay game, 13 for 61 and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Tevin Coleman, 12 for 46 and a touchdown. He saw the field quite a bit. Devonta Freeman and him are scaring owners of Devonta Freeman. And
you know who didn't get a target? Devonta Freeman.
Yeah,
that's
inexplicable. That's what changed.
Worrisome.
That gives him the baseline he used to have. So I don't know what to think about that. We're gonna move on.
Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week.
All right, it's time for our Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week.
Delicious.
Let's get delicious. All right, Melvin Gordon. I said I'd talk about him later on. He's my Rising Star of the Week. Melvin Gordon, 24 carries for 102 yards. If you listen to Phillip Rivers talk about Melvin Gordon,
I'm wide awake.
he says all the right things. He says he's a different player this year, that he is coming on, that he's running hard. You see it on the field, and now you have this opportunity with Woodhead being out. You're going to see pass targets to Melvin Gordon. He's scored in a couple weeks, has that off his back. I love what I'm seeing from Melvin Gordon. I think he has a really good chance, if he stays healthy, which is a giant fantasy question mark these days, of staying in the running back 1 category.
Yeah, the Danny Woodhead injury,
and this
which
was
we don't know how long Woodhead is out. There was a glimmer of positive news breaking out there on Woodhead.
This was a make or break week for me with Melvin Gordon too. I wanted to see production fantasy-wise, not just last week I think he had 60-something yards and the 2 touchdowns. Show me something else, and he did on the field. And with Tyrell Williams and Antonio Gates and Travis Benjamin, Phillip Rivers has enough weapons outside of Keenan Allen to keep the offense moving, and that changes the equation for me with Melvin Gordon. So he's my Rising Star of the Week.
All right, my Raising Cane's Rising Star of the Week is Kelvin Benjamin. We said it was all about the Benjamins, but the reason that he is rising for me, one is because coming into the year, I was pretty low on Kelvin Benjamin, relatively speaking. I mean, I wasn't sure whether he was going to bounce back to that rookie form, completely different offense, a whole year later. It's clear now, without a shadow of a doubt, that he is the number 1 target. He is matchup proof. He is a red zone weapon. And Kelvin Benjamin, I can't imagine him not being a wide receiver 1 at the end of the year under any circumstance barring injury. He is too involved and too big. I mean, just flat out, he's just too big. When you've got a cannon like Cam Newton that can just rocket the ball in here where you're boxing out, there's just no way to – it's basically like Gronk, right? It's kind of like Gronk and Tom Brady. When you get down near the end zone, if you've got a quarterback that can get it to you where the defender's not because you've got a big body, it's just like an auto touchdown.
I just love his the competitive catches that he makes. He doesn't lose the ball in those. He may drop the occasional outside throw.
Wide open throw. Yeah.
Right. But if he's in look, he's not going to lose the ball on a hit.
No.
He's enormous.
It's fun watching him play, too. I just love watching big
yeah,
guys beat up on these little corners.
Yeah, he's a big boy. So Kelvin Benjamin's your rising star.
All right.
Certainly.
My guy, I'm going with Stefon Diggs. Look, by now, for me at least, I am completely bought in. I didn't know what to do with Stefon Diggs over this offseason. Like we talked about, he was the originator of the Stay in the Flames he went full, he was heating up, and then he was on fire. He had a 4-game stretch where he was unbelievable, and then he completely fell into the background and did almost nothing. I believe he had 1 or 2 great games after that. So I didn't know what to do with him coming into the draft with Teddy Bridgewater as his quarterback. Could Bridgewater take that step, and did it matter? Well,
And would Laquan Treadwell?
sure, and they spent a first-round pick on a receiver. You still had Charles Johnson peeking his head out of the bushes, but Stefon Diggs, I missed on Stefon Diggs, and I am here to say that
You're on board.
I'm fully on board.
Let's test that.
Oh, okay.
Stefon Diggs or Michael Floyd rest of the season?
I think I'm going to take Diggs.
I would take Diggs there.
Stefon
Diggs.
Diggs or Allen Hurns rest of the season?
I'll take Diggs.
I would take Diggs. He's
is
the number one.
He's the number one guy.
Stefon Diggs or Michael Crabtree?
Ooh, crab people. That's very tough. I'll probably still go with Diggs. I'm going to take the number one.
Last one here. Kelvin Benjamin or Stefon Diggs rest of season?
I'll take Kelvin Benjamin in that situation. But for Stefon Diggs, like Jason had said, he's leading the league in passing yards. That's with Sammy Biscuits coming in with 2 weeks of preparation.
What does losing Peterson do?
I don't think it changes a whole bunch for that offense. Peterson, I mean, I know he pulls the defense up, and to my eyes, what was really unfortunate for Peterson is I always talk about him as he's a second half guy, and the chunk plays were starting to come. The defense was starting to unravel for Peterson right before the injury, so that was very unfortunate. But I think Stefon Diggs, there are people who are smarter than I who talked about the Sam Bradford. He's such a better fit for what they do in Minnesota than what he did in Philadelphia, and he was solid. The second half of Philadelphia, once he finally got in the system, he was good. So now if he's in a system that is better suited for what he can do, and look, a division game like we talked about, we saw Antonio Brown and AJ Green soil their pants for fantasy purposes. You have Sam Bradford with no time to get ready, comes in, and Stefon Diggs' connection with him just goes ham.
All right,
on the
Stefon
Packers.
Diggs, Melvin Gordon, Kelvin Benjamin. Those were our Raising Cane's Rising Stars of the Week. Remember, game day tastes better with Raising Cane's tailgates, full of fresh, 24-hour marinated, hand-battered chicken fingers and fresh brewed sweet tea. Visit RaisingCanes.com to find your nearest location, and as Mike always says,
Always get extra sauce.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
so many big boy pants to be pooped in this weekend.
Let's find out who we are actually concerned about.
Yeah, we got to get through these because we're already at the 52-minute
we're
mark
pushing
here.
it.
But let's skip guys that we're not long-term concerned about, all
Okay.
right? Andrew Luck.
I'm not long-term concerned. We saw Robert Turbin snatch away a touchdown
Yeah,
from him.
not concerned.
Do you bench every wide receiver against that Denver defense?
Most of the time, I
I
would
think
say
most
yes.
of the times you do.
Yeah.
They've given up 12 receptions this year to wide receivers.
Look,
Wow.
last year I know Antonio Brown went off on them. No one else did. I think like the whole season. I'm benching everyone against them unless he's Antonio.
All right,
Brown.
Russell Wilson, no touchdowns.
I'm concerned that if the wide receivers are beat up and that ankle's still not right, I'm concerned.
I think that it is dependent upon the health of the two wide receivers. So I'm to be determined.
If you're Russell Wilson owner, do you just
hold?
You just play it? Well, you roster two quarterbacks?
Yes.
If I roster two quarterbacks, if the wide receivers aren't healthy, if the wide receivers are fine, I start Russell Wilson next week.
Jameis Winston. Dun, dun.
Oh, you're wet.
Oh, yes.
Splash.
Oh,
man.
Jameis, 1 touchdown, 4 picks.
Oh, you want
Pooped in. He doesn't even have big boy pants. You guys
Wow.
wanted to give him big boy pants last week. I said, come on.
He was my streamer, and here's what I thought would happen. I thought that he would throw 3 bomb touchdowns right over Brandon Williams' head. But you want to know what changed? Brandon Williams didn't play football this week. They brought in a guy off the street who could actually play.
2 picks for Cooper.
And he got 2 picks, and all of a sudden the Cardinals D.
So what
looked
you're saying
fine.
is Winston threw 2 picks to a guy off the street.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
who is 10 times better than rookie Brandon Williams
Jameis-
at this point in his career.
Jameis Winston was trying to set up the perfect game script for fantasy, but then he did not.
I know.
He did not follow through.
I know. I was like, I was fine
Guys.
with those early picks because I'm like, great, let the Cardinals get up.
The difference between great quarterbacks and okay quarterbacks is great ones do it every week, and okay ones dominate for fantasy every other week. Jameis Winston's in the second category.
That's
For
fair.
now, I agree.
He could have got. He had his opportunities. Didn't get it done.
He failed.
Running backs. Look, it's hard to say they pooped their pants when they got injured, like Abdullah and Rawls and Martin and Woodhead, who did poop their pants for you, but well, they were hurt. So, long term, you're going to have to follow us, listen to the show. We'll tell you what's going on with those guys injury-wise. Let's talk about the guys that were healthy. Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, well,
14.
You knew it was going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, he was not startable for me this week anyways. The guy
His
that
quote, I was unhappy with how I played.
I guess it's better than him being happy with how he played. The guy
Right.
that I think pooped his pants the biggest because of the matchup, the opportunity, and the expectations was Rashad Jennings.
I was super disappointed.
I thought for sure Rashad Jennings was borderline RB1
for the week.
for the week against the New Orleans Saints, and he gets 13 for 27. Did you know that there were 14 carries given to Shane Vereen in this game on the ground?
I was going to throw out like I talked about at the beginning some people are reporting
his hand is wrapped. That's
seen
confirmed
with a cast,
Yeah.
which would explain very much not the inefficiency,
The
but,
workload.
but why Shane Vereen was getting everything at the end.
Yeah.
All right, Todd Gurley. He faced the Seattle defense. 19 for 51. Definitely flashed at times. Are you concerned with Todd Gurley?
Yeah.
I'm concerned that he's not matchup proof until he has a quarterback that can actually scare a defense.
Well said. Jeremy Hill, 11 for 22, including some goal line stuffages.
Yep.
Not a good game.
No, he stinks. And here's what I mean. No, here's what I mean by Jeremy Hill stinking. I'm not saying that he's not a good football player. I think he's an exceptional goal line player in most situations, but he stinks for fantasy football because I'm never confident. In fact, I am actually confident that if he doesn't get a touchdown, he's not going to do anything for my fantasy team. He gets the ball and he's running for 2 yards a carry right now. That's not going to get it done.
How does that make you feel, Mike?
Oh, terrible. I wanted him to be good again, but
I drafted him in our
happening.
league of record. I took him over Jonathan Stewart. I regret that now, even with Stewart's current injury.
TJ Yeldon had every opportunity this week. Now, game flow did not do him any favors. They got blitzed by the San Diego Chargers. But Yeldon,
Game flow sure did him a favor. He got 8 catches.
Yeah,
because
all
of that game
behind
flow.
the line of scrimmage for like 10 yards
I've
total.
I've never seen so bad a passing line.
Embarrassing.
if I can get
Yeldon did nothing to separate on any play from anyone. Dominant defensive performance by Verrett and the San Diego Chargers DBs. Just a blowout. You already heard me apologize or not apologize, break up with Gus Bradley.
Well,
if I can buy Chris Ivory for very, very cheap, I am going to do it.
I am completely on board with that, Mike, because if you are the Jags and something is wrong, you need a scapegoat. You need to say, what's wrong with our team? Well, we got no running game. They literally, over 2 games, have not been able to run the ball at all. If Chris Ivory comes out and runs well in week 3, and we don't know exactly what he's been dealing with, but it's been called an illness, which I prefer than a knee injury or a hamstring problem.
I've heard that he was trending up. He just wasn't ready to play this week.
So my point is, if he comes in and runs well in week 3, now the savior is here. They paid him the money. He's here. He's going to get the work. He's going to get the goal line, and they're going to say that's what the ailment was. That's the fix. So I agree. Look for Ivory on the cheap right now.
All right, let's blitz these the wide receivers, guys. Long-term concern. John Brown.
Long term, no, but you can't play him until he starts showing up.
I have major long-term concern with John Brown this year.
Jerron Brown playing well hurts him, and it hurts my heart.
Golden Tate, 2 for 13 on 9 targets.
I still do not have long-term concerns with Golden Tate, but goodness gracious, you sucked. You sucked so hard this week.
Donte Moncrief.
Injured. I mean, long term, it depends on the injury, but
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, I think long-term because
for
of the
20.
injury. The lingering foot.
I don't know.
I might be buying Watkins.
I
might be buying Watkins.
I go back and forth of trying to buy Watkins for the cheap and hoping that by the second half he starts cooking like he did last year.
Doug Baldwin. I'm not concerned long-term.
No concerns whatsoever.
A.J. Green, 2 for 38.
No,
not concerned.
No.
Emmanuel Sanders had a disappointing game in a good matchup where the Colts had lost 5 DBs, but Sanders only 3 for 39 on 8 targets.
Dude, I was watching the beginning of this game, and I'm not sure that this is exactly accurate. This is how I remember it. I feel like all 3 of those receptions were first quarter.
Yeah.
The beginning of the game, I was like, oh, Emmanuel Sanders looks great. I have no idea how he ended up with this line.
All right, Allen Robinson 3 for 54 on 5 targets. Now he played Verrett.
He's opened with 2 tough matches. We talked about that when Allen Robinson is matched up against an exceptional DB, he doesn't.
The splits aren't as good.
He doesn't perform.
The targets weren't there either.
No, they
well,
were
and
not.
part of that was the you know, maybe a lack of separation. He is a guy I would go target right now.
All right, lastly, the 4 tight ends I want to mention, Gary Barnidge, Kobe Fleener, Travis Kelce, Dwayne Allen. All of them did not score. They all had under 40 yards receiving. They disappointed their owners. Kobe Fleener, yet again. Gary Barnidge, okay. He caught a few passes this time, but nothing impressive. Who are you most worried about out of the bunch? Who are you least worried about?
I'm most worried out of the bunch about Kobe Fleener. Right now, I think he's completely droppable.
Man. That
I still
stinks.
think if you
That
go back to my
stinks.
preseason takes, I know I talked about him a lot. I know, look, he is one of my guys, but I even said in that he might get off to a slow start, and I want to pick him up off of waivers. I think in week 5 or 6, when they start getting that connection together, I'm going to be back on him. But right now, drop him. That's the thing with the tight end position. You don't need to have loyalty to these tight ends for fantasy. You drop him, you pick him up. Guy I'm least concerned with is Travis Kelce. He's a beast. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm concerned about Dwayne Allen giving you much of anything this year too.
Allen's you took him super late in the draft, and you knew that if he
was a flyer.
If he doesn't get a touchdown, he's going to let you down.
All right, guys, real quick, give me a winner for tonight's game. Who wins the game between the Eagles and the Bears?
The Bears.
I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles as well.
Hey,
all right, that's it, guys.
Check out fantasyjocks.com for all your trophy needs with the promo code Footballers.
Huge waiver show tomorrow. Don't miss it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.